So this is not the PlayStation 5 version of Battlefield 2042. I'm reviewing it on the PlayStation 5. I've got extensive gameplay time with it on the PC, and it's got some major problems on that side. Really annoying considering DICE, Frostbite and EA have always been really great to PC owners, right? It runs a bit choppy. Frame rates are in the top right. It's supposed to be sticking to 60 frames per second. I have it on 1080, but on Ultra, and it was handling it a lot of the time. I've gone into a private map, so there shouldn't really be any excuses on sort of large servers, big player counts, and it's still just dipping hell for leather. It is a bit of a shame. PC owners do always get shafted with a lot of ports, but I thought PC owners were Battlefield's core audience, you know. Battlefront, fair enough, but not good. Anyway, let's have a look at the PlayStation 5 version. These intros can be a little bit hit and miss, but they're a hell of a lot smoother than they are over on the PC, and I will put a link into full review that I put together for that system. Everything comes together when you fire this up on your PlayStation 5. It's smooth, there is no issues with that intro, and everything seems to be a bit more server quick. So load times are really good, you slot into a game really quickly, it never crashes, and I've so far, I've had it for about 3.5 days, I've not had a single issue with freezing, which is what the game does over on PC kind of constantly. This wasn't a surprise to me, however. I was aware of a lot of the issues, but I just want to see them for myself and get the opportunity to play a very AAA modern military shooter on two quite powerful systems. Here's the scandal. It's using a system called temporal reconstruction rendering, which again, a bit like God of War 2018, means that it's not true 4K, and my capture software didn't even recognize it as a semi 2K. This is uploaded at 1080, but at a very locked 60 frames per second. That's one thing I want to cover. Nothing disturbs the frame rates when you play this on a PlayStation 5.
We hold more sectors than the enemy.
I've also been watching way too many comparison videos with the new Modern Warfare and this game, and silly details like on reload animations and just very obvious things that one or the other game's gonna do better on. But one thing that loads of the videos just refuse to cover is that the Activision games don't have any decent destruction mechanics on any structural area of the map at all. With the Battlefield series, that was always my major selling point, as mentioned in the original review. They also have, however, taken out a lot of boats. Okay, you've got hovercraft now on Battlefield 2042, but that doesn't cut it. I used to really love the sea sections, crossing sections of water in massive boats, or even being on those dreadnoughts. I'm pretty gutted to see that that's been removed.
Has been secured by hostiles.
What hasn't been removed, however, are the beautiful Christmas noobs. As you can see here, owning those new owners of the game is pretty damn special. That ballistic shield is quite an interesting piece of kit. It's given to you as your first opening character on their loadout, and you can fire ricochet and get behind it. Check out the plants getting whooshed by the aircraft overhead. I know this stuff's all in the PC version, but by now I would have had a freeze or a crash or a massive frame drop, so it just seems a lot more pleasurable experiencing it on my PlayStation 5. The haptics are actually okay, giving nice bits of rumble, sensitivity on all the weapons, feeling that resistance on a lot of the triggers with different guns is pretty damn cool. Back to those comparison videos, and they don't really make sense to me because the Battlefield series, particularly this game and Battlefield 4, are very much sandbox military shooters. I.e., here's your big map, here's all your cool equipment, just go for it, maybe try and capture some points, but it's all about 160 plus players going at it with a lot of options. In Call of Duty games, you don't really see that amount of scope with equipment, vehicles, and sheer size of the maps. It does dip sometimes. I've caught it dipping below 60 frames per second, maybe twice over a period of like 8 or 9 hours, but it's probably to do with the incredible amount of action on screen and someone dropping in or out. I know I'm defending the PlayStation 5 version a little bit, but I want to make it clear that it's a completely gorgeous working first-person military shooter. And I'd rather talk about it twice than even mention Call of Duty once on the channel this year, because they haven't done us very good on the split screen level. The zombie stuff's just getting worse and worse. The last Call of Duty game I spoke about was Cold War. I'll put a link in the description. In my eyes, that's kind of your best for the last 5 years. Those fiddlers on the roofs are really starting to piss me off. There's one thing, is the sniper build. If you really go down to the wire, you can be basically invulnerable and reach straight across the whole map. That does put a lot of people off. But once you get your head around the vehicles, once you get your head around the tag system, which we're going to talk about in a second, because it's gone a bit crazy, these guys can be pinpointed and taken out from the air, but it's just annoying. What isn't annoying is the cool Dead Space like overlay on the HUD for your weapon attachments. You can switch out your attachments on the fly on each gun. You'll never go back on a system like that. Being able to just approach a situation and put an applicable scope on is really cool. Even tactical grip or something to do with the muzzle. That brings me on to the tag system. And there's kind of 3 ways to tag people. You can do it manually like you do on Apex or anything else with the R button whilst you're pointing at a person. You should always do that prior to fire in case you miss. Everybody knows where they are. But there's also gear and equipment that highlights enemies with massive red dots over their heads. And then when you die, you can also tag, you know, a spot on the map that you're looking at, which is in theory where that person was standing. So the mini-map's going a bit crazy now, and camping's being made a lot more difficult because of that system. I don't mind it, but I think we'll see some refinement in the future.
Stop vehicle ID! 090 degrees! 130 meters! Hostile mark!
I want to talk about Game Pass very quickly and why I own this game twice. Well, obviously I'm a YouTuber and having 2 versions is a plus because I can hold them up against each other. But also I've got 2 systems in the one room with 2 TVs, so technically this has got great cross-platform implementation. Check it out down there near the map. You've got an Xbox controller, a PlayStation symbol, and a damn PC monitor. Absolutely amazing. That brings me over to Dark Tide. So despite all of its flaws that I've gone on about through the whole video on the PC, I like this game enough on that system to slap down the cash and go and buy it physical for my PlayStation 5. It's only 35 quid in the UK at the moment. PlayStation 4 and Pro version's 25. The game has had a whole year of patches and user feedback and testing. It's gone through the grinder. It is a beautiful piece of software now, unless you're playing it over on a PC. You're going to get by, but you're going to get annoyed. And you're going to want to give your money to the console people because they've done the ports a lot better. Now, if you are familiar with Fat Shark and Dark Tide, you'll know that it's sitting on PC only still, after like 6 weeks of launch with a promise of it going over to Xbox One and S. It just hasn't done it. There's so many people who would slap down money for that game. And the clock's ticking. They're going to lose interest. They're not going to bother. Space Marine 2 is going to come along and just put it in the shadows. One other thing I did want to mention is the private serving and hosting your own maps to have your mates in for a muck about, even a team deathmatch on these huge areas, but better still, access to all that equipment and getting to learn how to fly some of those helicopters. They're not simple contraptions. I was very impressed with this. I thought it might just be PC only, but you've got access to Bad Company 3 maps and vehicles. You can set up everything. You can't choose your map technically. You just have to cycle through till you find something that you like. But normally stuff like this costs money. It's very cool to see them put it in just as an addition. Am I going to feature the new Modern Warfare 2 game on the channel? Probably not, guys. I'm going to hang out for the new Treyarch game because they always do a better job on the zombies, and that's where my focus is, especially with that split screen mode. Apparently, we haven't seen a lot of good content on the split screen for the new Call of Duty, so I might just step away for this particular year or bowl it in with something once the game gets cheaper, but it sure as hell isn't 35 quid, and it doesn't look like this. I have been Couch Goodman. Thank you very much for making it through my video. I will put the Dark Tide complaint link in the description and the PC review of what we're looking at here. I'll see you down there.